Good morning. It is Friday, the 22nd of October. We are in the book of Ezra, chapter 3 today, and it struck me as the people began to do the rebuilding of the temple. Remember, they'd been in captivity for 70 years. It's literally a new generation that comes back to Jerusalem. But within that new generation are some of the oldies, because we read when the foundation stones are laid and the temple is begun, that the old people who remembered what it had been like. Now, whether these were some of the old folk who had not been taken into captivity and had remained in and around Jerusalem in the country or the kingdom of Judah, or whether they were just really old and had come back, I'm not sure. But they certainly remembered what the temple was like, and they wept. In a sense, almost weeping with the memory of what was, and yet also weeping with the joy of what is now to come. God had delivered them. Others who only remember the ruins because they weren't there when the temple was destroyed, they are rejoicing straight off because they see the restoration of the temple. They depict within that the restoration of God's relationship with them. And it struck me that we need to rejoice in the Lord, weep over the things that were and that we have lost and are sad about, but weep with a sense of rejoicing, because our God is the God, the only God. He is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. He is the way, the truth, and the life. Everything comes from him and everything will return to him. So rejoice because your King reigns. But just as a caveat, and not to now destroy the joy of this, but is to remember that there's always opposition. We saw the opposition that the poor prophet Jeremiah faced for speaking the truth, and because of his relationship with the Lord. In the book of Ezra, as we go on with Ezra and Nehemiah, we read how the people around, the foreigners, rebelled against and stood up against and tried to stop the rebuilding of the temple. So there's opposition to our relationship with the Lord. And we don't want to end with the sense of there is opposition, because that's almost ending on a negative note. We need to end with that positive note with which we began, that we rejoice, but be forearmed and forewarned so that we can be forearmed, to be aware that there will always be opposition for standing for God. That's the way of the world. Don't let it get you down. Don't let it make you depressed and sad and be all somber. So rejoice. In the midst of the opposition, still rejoice. And as we go into this weekend and you have the opportunity of going to church, whether it's online or in person, and I would encourage to go to church in person if at all possible, but be practical and wise about it, but certainly follow online if that is your next option. Rejoice in the Lord. Rejoice because of your relationship with the Lord. Folks, have a wonderful weekend, and we'll chat again next week. God bless.